A major condition for authentic interacting is, again, self-awareness. Aware of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm saying, how I'm behaving. Aware of, to the degree I can, what you're saying, what you're thinking, feeling, what you're doing, and so on. The more I'm aware, and then quickly move into looking for the value. So learning to appreciate that everything has positives, everything has potential negatives, and the question is to be able to look at all of it without having to react to the negative or get super enthusiastic about the positive and then go blindly down the road and overlook the fact there's some downsides to this. I want to weigh both of them in a way that I can get the best of the differences that exist. So learning to have a broader appreciation tied to being more aware sets me up then for how I think about it differently. If I see an idea that I like, I think about it differently than an idea I don't like. In fact, most people would say, why should I spend any time thinking about an idea I don't like? There's no reason to go there. And the answer for my I change is there's every reason in the world to go there, because in that difference you can find something you would have never dreamed of. There was a time when we used to teach creative problem solving, and we used to have some times when we say for the next 5 minutes nobody's allowed to give an idea for which you would not be fired. In other words, if your boss were listening, your boss would fire you on the spot for having an idea like that. And you would say, well, why on earth would you do that? Well, the reason is you wouldn't look in that area otherwise. But actually, if you go visit it, you sometimes will find something you had never dreamed of. And that will allow you to think outside the box, as they say, to think more creatively. So the issue is, as I become more aware, more appreciative of what's there, then it all comes back to how I think about that. And we believe there are 3 fundamental ways that we think about things. One is critically, and unfortunately in our culture, when you say, I want you to critique this or give me your critical evaluation, we immediately go negative. We think that means tell me everything that's wrong with it. And of course, people will do just that. In fact, they love it. I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with your ideas and why they'll never work. But that's not what the word meant originally. Critical means that I'm critiquing it for its strengths and for areas that might be weak. So that a critical thinker is looking at both sides of it, finding out what you did well or what you were thinking in terms of that will be helpful and constructive, as well as some areas that look like they're weak and might need some more thought processing. To think critically is to think logically or rationally, call it what you will. I also call it in-the-box thinking. Inside your box or your mental model, you can look at something and say, here's a logical outcome of this idea. If I don't share your mental model, then you don't sound rational to me. I'm asking myself, that doesn't even make any sense. This guy is irrational. That's because I'm standing in my world, looking at it from my frame of reference, and from my frame of reference, it isn't logical. It doesn't make sense, which is another reason why I should get out of my box. And I've been in corporations where they're, put a premium on saying we need to learn to think outside the box. We're going to be more creative around here. And one of the most classic statements I ever heard from a CEO was, we need more thinking outside the box and more creativity around here, and I don't want any surprises. Now, he never did see that there was a contradiction in his own thinking. If we really got out of the box, if we really got creative, you're going to be surprised. But you see, that's exactly what excites a little child. A surprise, the possibility of the unexpected. Whereas when you get to be an adult, if you're locked in and you're frightened, surprises can be scary. And so you don't want to go there. So we try to help people think within the box logically and clearly as they can, based on what they currently understand and know and believe. But we equally want to say we need to poke holes in the edges of your box so some fresh air can flow through. Some new ideas can get in and cause you to think differently. And then there's a final kind of thinking that I haven't seen anything in the curriculum to teach people how to do it. We call it holistic thinking. Modern science has taught us that everything in the universe is connected to everything else. Well, when you say that in one context, everybody goes merrily on their way, but stop and think about what that was just saying. Everything is connected to everything else. So if you do not see how, say, for instance, the rug on the floor is connected to your problem, then the question is, how come you can't see it? Because modern science tells us everything's connected to everything else. You can't see the connection. It doesn't mean it's not there. It means that my perceptual model or my mental model blinds me to being able to see that. And so if I know that, I can be driven to look far beyond all limits and all boundaries and visit other parts of the world that I normally would not have visited. And that not only supports my creativity, but it also supports my logical thinking. Now, the interesting thing is, for the last 20 plus years, graduate schools and businesses have said, and they've actually tested it, critical thinking coming out of our education system is going down. Each year, the kids are less able to think critically. In the last decade and a half, the creativity has been going down. And in education, it's interesting, we worry about whether you get a bus, you're going to have to ride a bus, or you're going to get a voucher, or we're going to have a classroom size. And you could change all three of those and it would not impact critical thinking scores going down, creativity scores going down. And it says we're not making the right choices in education as long as that continues to happen. We're, if you will, majoring in the minors.